Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me, of course, the returning guest, a former WWF legend, some wrestling royalty. He's, of course, one half of the Bushwhackers, Bushwhacker Luke. Luke, welcome back to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
I'm not there, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, we lost your video for a second here.
Hang on a minute. Again.
There you go. You're back. You're back. We
Sorry,
lost
mate.
your video for a second, but
Now,
you're,
John,
you're
I
yes, you're
can't
back. But
hear you.
also,
John, I can't hear
yep.
you very good.
Uh-oh. Now you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you, but not. Can you turn it up a bit louder?
Yeah, for sure. Let me see here. Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me a little bit better?
Hang on a minute. I don't know why. I can hear you, but not very loud. Let me put some earphones in.
Okay.
And John, tell me stop last time.
So we were talking about this a little bit on Saturday when we saw you at the show. The last time you were on our show together here, we were talking all about your career, obviously with Butch. We're talking about the sheep herders. We went all the way up to, I'd say, somewhere around 1985 ish, because we landed in Puerto Rico, and then we're going to talk WWF. But that was kind of where we landed. We had a little bit of an epic last time. You went throughout your whole career.
Yeah, so we're at when I arrived in Puerto Rico. Okay, then you want to start the show again?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We can do
Yeah.
that.
Okay, and then I'll start on that trip when I went into Puerto Rico to book there. That was '84, I think.
Okay.
Eh, Okay.
Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. Once again, I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me, of course, a returning guest, a WWF legend, one half of the sheep herders, one half of the bushwhackers, Bushwhacker Luke. Welcome back. How you doing today?
It's great to be back on the two-man power trip, mate. Yeah, but I'm ready to rock and roll. I know we talked about a lot about my life before, but a lot has happened since then. So, so some of it was no good. We'll get to that eh, when we get to that point in the show.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So the last time we were talking, we went all the way through your career. We were going all the way up to about 1984-ish in Puerto Rico. I think that's right about where we landed the last time we talked.
Yeah, and then that's when I took the book. As it was '83, '84, somewhere like that. We took the book for Carlos Colon, WWC. And by the way, I've just been notified that the 22nd of June, uh, this coming up, is the 50th anniversary that that company's been running,
Wow.
WWC. Anyhow, I went in there at the time too. And of course, my main heel and baby faces was Brody and Abdullah, which I've been using in Texas against each other. But now, when I going to Puerto Rico, both of them were the heels. But and I had a good run there. I'd have Brody in there for the big shows, or I'd have Abdullah. But we did great business there with the Invaders, with Carlos, Chicky Star, a lot of the guys who were there. But I mainly worked with Carlos and Jose Gonzalez, the Invader One, or I worked with the two Invaders, uh, Invader One and Invader Three. Johnny, I can't remember his second name, but they worked in New York for Vince Senior, that team, and Butch and me worked against them uh, through this period of time, you know, and we did great business. You know, it was the territory, I guess, the New Zealand flag against the Puerto Rican flag and that. You know, the Puerto Ricans are bloodthirsty. They love that fucking fight. They love to see a fight. And we were more hardcore wrestlers at that time. You know, we were doing all the wild stuff and that, so it fitted into Puerto Rico. You know, that's what the people wanted, and we were the people to give it to them.
And if you looked recently on WWF, they went to Puerto Rico. They did a pay per view. I know Savio came out, Carlito came out, but there was some blood in the main event with Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. They love their blood down there.
Yeah, they do. Because it's every night, it was blood, blood, blood every night. You know, I can tell some wild stories about there. You know, at first we had when we went in there, we had the I'm just my manager now, Hugo Savinovich,
Oh,
who was WWE voiceover guy for Spanish for about 10 years. We had him as a manager there. Boy, we had some rough times. Times where the fans were in one place in Ponce, they the seats were bolted down, in the stands which come up around. The seats are bolted down like 4 or 5 seats in one piece. They're bolted there. They were ripping the seats off the stands and coming down and throwing them in the ring. This was in Ponce one night. We
jeez.
actually we had the both invaders down, and we put them back to back and ran barbed wire around them. Of course, I had some leather gloves on, and that, but we put the barbed wire around their body up to their necks, and they were back to back tied down there. And the fans, they started coming to that ring. And boy, when they come, in the stand, they're in the stands. There's no one on the floor on these shows because they keep the people back in the stands. And then they came out of the stands and they're coming to the ring. Butcher me, we're lucky we got back to the dressing room, but then we had to get out of the dressing room to get to the car. And that was an hour wait after that. And that we actually, this night, after we did this, the police come into the building and the car, we went in the police car. Someone drove our car to the outskirts of Ponce and we got in our car, drove back to San Juan.
Wow,
That
Jesus.
was the night. And that,
Dangerous.
yes. Another night, we were outside there, and Hugo, our manager of that, and we come out the arena, and they turned the car on the side, and there was only us two and a few security guards there, and the fans said, "Hey," they told them, they said, "We got 25 people here, you got five." And that, so we back into the building. Fucking Hugo ran out in the middle. We had to grab Hugo to come back. They had guns, everything. It was
Oof.
wild. That night was wild. All of a sudden, a, a gang of guys arrived in leather jackets with Uzis, shorts, machine pistols, and I
Whoa.
thought, who the hell are these? And that was the task force.
Wow. Were you scared for your life down there? I mean, that's freaking crazy.
It was like that quite a bit. I got sliced a few times where I had to go to court and it was all Spanish. I had to have an interpreter and that with me and that just to understand what was going on.
Wow, jeez. Did you speak?
They put razor blades in between their fingers like that. A razor blade would stick out this side of the hand, and I'd snap it and drag it and
Oh,
drag it so it would
yeah.
cut into you. And that's why I got the shoulder. It's got to put that shoulder up to block it, and it got cut a few times.
Oof, man, that's crazy. Did you ever learn to speak Spanish? Did you ever learn the language down
Paquito. I had 30 people
there?
working for me, 30 people working for me, and I didn't speak no wee bit. The funny part is I used to go over stuff in the dressing room, and I say to them now, do you understand what I'm saying? And they all go, yes, see. And then as soon as I walk away, they go to Savio or another person who is bilingual and ask them what I talked about.
That's
I
great.
used to laugh at
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so because I didn't want any fuck ups out there. But that was life, and that Puerto Rico was wild. While I was down there, we did Trinidad, we did Barbados, and we didn't do Jamaica, but we did Panama, and we did Panama Canal and the Panama, Central America, and we did Venezuela too.
Wow. Are those wrestling hotbeds at all, or not really?
Very hot, very hot. Yeah,
So
all those arenas were out of Puerto Rico. They were all sold out. Down in Trinidad, it'd be wild. We'd be at a cricket where they play cricket.
yep,
That's the summer sport. They put
yep.
the ring in that, and the people be in the stands. And there's got a few stories about that. And in the other places, the buildings will just be sold out.
It's amazing.
One
And
night,
if
one
you look,
night I'm going to tell a short story. One
sure.
night we're going from Panama. We're in Panama, and the television company is the one that's in the promotion, and they're taping the shows. It's WWC, but it's WW Carlos's Capital Sport, but the other companies paid them for us to come in, right? So we do a one show I think it was in Panama City, and now we're driving to another city during the night. And all of a sudden, about 2 in the morning, we've got a convoy. We've got a television truck at the front for the boys. We've got three vehicles, three vans. The television company, all the equipment was in the middle, and there was a van in front and a van at the back. And that anyhow, we got stopped in the middle, 2 in the morning, and all these guys come in army outfits, jump in us, and they want to start searching at that. And I'm thinking it's the army. These were banditos,
Oh,
bandits. The
Jesus.
fucking
Yeah.
company had to pay them all to go from A to B because we're crossing over into another area, and they controlled the area. And you had to. I didn't know all about this, but I found out later that the television company paid so much to let us through to go ahead to work into the next town. Crazy, huh?
Wow, man. It's like you're playing with a life and death doing these.
Yeah, and we didn't even know at the time. I was half asleep in that, woke up on that, and I saw them. I thought it was just the army checking everything. You know what I mean? That everyone was legal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
crazy. That's how people survive down there, mate. That's how they work. That's how they make a living.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Crazy. It's another world.
So you loved it down there because you spent a lot of time down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but that time I spent 2 years. Then I came back and worked. Then I came back there inland. I got a call from Bill Dundee. He said that he was working for Bill Watts, Mid South Wrestling. He said, I'm leaving. And if you want to come in there to book, and he had Bill on the phone, Bill Watts. And I talked to them there, the three-way, and I said, yeah. And I said, I've got 2 months. I've got to close a couple of the programs I got going. I was in one and someone was in another one. I said, it'll be 2 months before I can get out. So I got a date for 2 months ahead of time. And Bill Dundee left. He was leaving right then. So they got another guy to take the book down there in Mid South, Dickie Slater. So when I came in there after 2 months to take the book, I said, okay, you know, they said Dickie's got the book at the moment, and I said, well, when does he leave? Take over? And they said to me, he's not leaving. We want him to stay, but we want you to take the book, and he'll work for you. Well, I've noticed this in the territories. When you come in to take over them, you always get rid of the other booker because they can stay there and fuck it up for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Screw it up for you. So
Yep.
I said no. I said I can't. Dickie was a friend of mine from Florida. He's worked in Florida with me, and I've known him. Not a great friend, but and worked for him, worked with him on the territory. Hang on 1 second.
Yep. Bushwhacker Lucas got to take care of that
I gotta
dog.
take it to the dog.
Yes, got to take care of that dog. You see something.
Yeah, no. The other one called out to. I got two. I got two of them.
Oh, yeah. So he's
Anyhow,
probably calling for his buddy. Yep.
yeah. So anyhow, so when I got there, and that I waited for a while, and everybody can see me back here again, mate.
Yep.
Yeah. So I never, the reason I waited and waited, and I said, well, Dickie, and they said no. So you know what they did? They bought in a booker from Dallas, Mantell, Ken Mantell. And I was doing a program by then. We'd won the belt from Dr. Death and Ted DiBiase. That we were the champions, and we're doing a program with the two little guys, the big hearts, the Fantastics. They were wrestlers when they were wrestlers like the Rock and Roll Express.
Yep.
And that we started a program with them, but they started working with us, and we turned them into fighters. And we did a great business. We're doing great business everywhere. The arenas will come up and nearly full. I'm talking about the big arenas, 18,000 people and all that sort of stuff. 10,000 in little towns and that. And we've started doing business. And he brings in Ken Mantell, and Ken Mantell starts bringing his talent in from Dallas. And, I could see then the writing was on the wall. His talent, his team was the Freebirds.
Yep.
So, yeah, we did work there for maybe 5 months, 6 months with them, but I didn't do he was the booker, and I didn't do what I would have done with the Fantastics. He tried to cool it off. He gave us a manager first, who was the guy from, he went to ECW, Jack Victory.
Yeah.
He gave us Jack Victory and that, and then he gave us another, after Jack Victory, he gave us a girl, Mad Maxine. She was a 6'2" girl with a mohawk.
Yep.
And then that. So I'm guessing Ken thinks that he's given us this talent on the outside. So there's 6 of us. There's 4 of us working against these 2 little guys. He thought they would kill us. Well, I don't know what his train of thought was, but he thought we'd get weaker. But everyone he gave to us joining our army, it showed that they were fucking knocking America. They joined the sheep herders, and they were denouncing US, so we were getting more heat from it.
Right.
Instead of losing heat.
Right.
Whether he thought we were going to lose heat, because that was it. And anyhow, then we worked matches, and that. Then Bill Watts pulled a cage out of barbed wire, and that it bolted to the 4 corners, and then it was made of wood, and it went up about 15 feet, 12 feet, and it was and he put a post in the middle. Well, it was an anchor to anything, but it was barbed wire all the way around the ring up to 15 feet, and we started that program with them. With the rock the Fantastics and that. And then there was a situation there that it was a payoff. I complained about a payoff. Well, I didn't complain. I just got my pay one week, and I saw someone else's pay, and we were the last match every night. No one else had it. It was New Zealand against fucking USA. We had a war going, and it was hot, and there was no other. I can't remember if there was any other progress, but nothing like that. We were the end show for the last 6 months, 5 months, and then we got the paycheck, and I said to Butch, "This is bullshit." Barbed wires every night. We'd already done about 15 barbed wires at the time, maybe 20. It's a big territory for Watts' territory.
Traveling on the road, right?
Yeah, it went from Yeah, went from down in Louisiana, New Orleans, right up to St. Louis. And it went across, Oklahoma and the other state beside it, and Alabama. It covered all that area,
A little bit of Houston too, right?
Yes, yeah. So, anyhow, saw the paycheck. We didn't go to work the next day, and all of a sudden, I got Grizzly calling me, and then we've got Jr. Jr. was the right hand man, the voiceovers for the TV, and Bill Watts was right hand man, Jim Ross,
Yep.
and
Oh yeah.
they offered us 500 a night before we go to the ring, you know. And I said, well, why are you offering us now 500 a night before going to the ring, which is good in the mid 80s, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yep.
And why weren't you paying us before?
Right.
Now you're
Yeah.
offering that, and I knew too. As soon as those barbed wire cage matches finished, we would get the boot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I just never went back and worked for them. We never
Man.
went back and worked. That's the first territory. I know we walked out. What's the first territory in USA and the last territory the Butcher and me ever walked out on?
Wow. Crazy. And obviously you and the
I,
Fantastics did some great business together there too.
yeah, well, people still talk about those matches.
Yeah.
You go on YouTube and see the Crockett Cup, 1986 Crockett Cup. The
Yes.
match, we stole the show with the match. Even though the Road Warriors and the Russians were the last match, we were the second to last match in it, but our match was, when you look at the crowd and you watch them and watch that match, that was hot, hot, hot.
5-star match, right? I mean, it's one of the best.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. So that was that, and today I go back in life and I think I should have just, even though Dickie was afraid, I should have just taken the book and and forgot about being the old, the old rules of the old rules. You don't, if the other book is staged, you don't take it. But I should have taken it and just gone on with it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I
Yep.
would have made a lot. I would have made a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A
But
lot
hey,
more money than I did because I had some angles that I've done in other territories, like in Texas and in Tennessee, that I did that we drew a lot of money with, and I was going to do that with these two kids, but it never happened.
but then you guys obviously leave. Where do you head? Do you head down to Florida and then you go to Japan?
Yes, yeah, we just at that moment I had to make a phone call, and that in Florida now was taken over by Crockett. But in the office there, they said, "Yeah, come in." So they brought us in there, and of course, the Fantastics were there. A team that we did, we that we in 1980, 81, that we sold out everywhere in Tennessee. We had one hell of a run in Tennessee with the fabulous ones. So here we are now having a run again with the fabulous ones, but now in Florida. And but the booker there in Florida now is the Japanese guy. What's his name? He's dead now. He owned part of the office
Hiro Matsuda?
here in Matsuda. And one thing I'll say, I've been in the offices all the time. Hiro Matsuda trained Lex Luger and Ron Simmons. And because they were his two guys, straight out of training school, they were put on top there, and boy, they were green as hell. But that was life, that we were the ones with the story going and the angle going and that, and but every night Matsuda it was out there with either Lex Luger or Ron Simmons in the main event with whoever they had to come in to work against them.
And that's the around the infamous time period where Bruiser Brody was, about to kick Luger's ass in the cage, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I was there for that. Where he got out and ran out of it.
What happened? What happened? He just wouldn't cooperate, so Brody just kind of kicked his ass, or what was
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. Well, when Brody comes in, he gets over. Frank was a good friend. Well, not a good friend of mine, but I had him with me when I booked everywhere. He was with me in Puerto Rico and Texas. Well, his home was in 30 minutes 30 minutes out of San Antonio, where he lived. And I was a booker there for a year and a half, 2 years. So I used Frank a lot as a baby face in that area. Anyhow, getting back to Florida. Yeah, Luger, he knew that Frank was coming in and he didn't take, Luger was a bodybuilder. And at that time, he was green. And they put him in a cage with Frank. And, Frank's in cages all the time.
Yep.
And bang, and, that big boot and that sharp and everything. I just think he got scared. I don't even know the full reason, for it.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those infamous stories. It's like, oh shit, Luger
Yeah,
basically ran away. He's gonna get his ass kicked. He just got out
yeah.
of Dodge.
Yeah, got out of Dodge before. But if you fought back, if Frank fueled you and you fight back, he'll work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
If you be a pussy in the ring with him, well, he'll eat you up and beat you to death. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm talking about beat you. You'll feel it too, because because you're a bit of a fucking pussy. He'll fucking pound you to
Yeah.
death. I've
There's a
seen it.
there's a
I've
great
seen it
match.
many times.
There's a great match, or well, I guess maybe depending how you look at it, him versus Undertaker. When Undertaker was first starting out in Dallas, I mean, Brody just kicks his ass. I mean, just eats his
Yeah,
lunch. Yeah, crazy.
yeah. That's his home area, mate. He
Yep.
worked for he played the game there. He worked for Fritz one week. He worked for Joe Blanchard the following week. Whoever's going to pay him the most, he worked for them.
Right. Yep. Were you
Yeah,
there? Were you there in Puerto Rico when he passed away, or no? You were in WWF then.
not WWF by then.
Okay.
Frank, Frank, I used to bring him and do an angle with him in the Junction in Tennessee, in Texas. That's by Joe. That's where we did the TV on Monday nights, and Joe's office was there too. And then we'd wait for the weekend and advertise him and bring him in for the weekend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He'd come to the TV, do some little thing with him, and that. But one time he always worked for St. Louis and he'd work for Vern AWA, and he'd work for Fritz or Joe Blanchard. This week I had him, and we're going down the valley. The valley's on the borderline where all the trouble is now, Westerco. And then Westerco on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm talking about in the mid '80s, we do 2,000 people. If we have a good card. And this time I've got the Mummy against the Mummy was 6'5", and that against Bruiser Brody, and fucking the Mummy never arrived. No, sorry, Bruiser Brody never arrived. He went to one of the other towns,
Oh
and
wow! Damn.
believe it or not, that town went down to 150, 200 people.
Ooh.
That was hard to get back. It was about 9 months till I got that town back, on a Sunday to 1,000. That, with we give them something good and we get 1,000 people. Yes.
Wow.
And
So you went
that
down a
because
lot.
that killed that town. He
Yep.
killed it for 9 months because we used to do that in the afternoon, and then we'd have a charter plane and we'd fly four of the main guys back to San Antonio to work in the hemisphere at night. And Frank was booked on the both, down in the valley and the hemisphere. So he killed the both towns. That was any time he did that to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn.
But he did that. He did that to the other guys too in St. Louis because whoever offered him the most money.
Right. Yep. So it's funny, like if you look at the career parallels, and we're talking about Brody, but the parallels with the Fantastics, because you wrestle them, for NWA for Crockett Cup, but I believe they're your last match when you go back to work for JCP too, right? As you kind of finish up in '88 when you're working for JCP, it seems like you and the Fantastics again meet up.
Yeah, we meet up there. Yeah, right at the end we meet up. We'd work for the Rock and Roll Express and that, and then we meet up with them, but that's when we got the call from New York, and you couldn't turn that down.
No, 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 definitely not. And the last time when not the last time, two times ago when you were on with Butch, you guys were on together, and he was telling a hilarious story about how basically Vince was like, "No, I see you guys as baby faces," and you guys were like, "How? How are we like how like we're like heels, we're the sheep
But
herders, right?" So what is that awesome story?
Butch, when Vince says, "I'd like to bring you in as the good guys," and that, and Butch got up on the desk, Vince's desk, and put his face about maybe 12 inches apart, and said, "If you can make these faces, baby, go ahead." And Vince come back. He said, look at the mugs on my top stars: Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He said, look at the mugs on them. They're not the prettiest.
Right? Yeah, he's
And
right.
then go ahead and that. And I piped up like an old school, which I shouldn't have. But I learned a quick lesson. I said, well, bring us in as heels and turn us baby faces. Now you never tell Caesar what to do.
Right.
Caesar's Vince, and
Yes.
that, and straight away, that's not the way I do things. He said, I knew I shouldn't have said that, but that's it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I love that.
Anyhow,
I
so
love
what
that
he said,
though. Yeah.
he says, now I'm going to bring you in every week, and you do for a day, and you do vignettes, and then we'll start you in 6 weeks time. And then he started, he flew home. And that funny part is, Butch calls me up. He says, fuck, they sent the wrong contract to us. This is for the Bushwhackers. And I said to Butch, hey, he wants to own us for merchandise. And
Yes.
that, Butch, and that, because Butch thought, oh, they sent the wrong name. So that was it. Anyhow, we did these vignettes. We're lucky. At that time, Crocodile Dundee 2 had just come out,
Yep.
and the movie Crocodile. And so with these vignettes, we went down that same road, with the same words. We used some of the lines that Crocodile did use. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
and people caught on to us and that simple shit we did. We did a lot of vignettes, in different places, and with drink machines and all, crazy shit we did.
Yeah. Did you like the
And,
name the Bushwhackers or not like it?
hey, anything. I
Mhm.
don't care if we call shitheads. Long as we're on that Vince's payroll.
Yes.
Anyhow, the Bushwhackers. No, it's not a New Zealand name. It's a down under name. It's more Australian. Bushwhacker. Now they bought Mick Jagger down for a movie. It's like a Robin Hood. You know,
Hmm.
Mick Jagger. Robin Hood steals from the rich and looks after the poor.
Yep.
That's what a bushwhacker does. Wealthy people. He bushwhacks them from behind, robs them, and takes care of the needy people.
Gotcha. Okay. So obviously you
Eh,
didn't care about the name change. Vince just wanted to own Bushwhackers because he couldn't own
yeah,
Sheepherders.
we had sheep herders. We would have got more percentage of our merch. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I wasn't familiar with dealing with lawyers at that time, but I knew, that the percentage is a big difference. When if you own your name, the guys that own their name and Vince uses their name, they got 5% of their merch of the net,
Right. Okay.
and when you don't own your name, you're down to 1 or 2%. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a big difference.
When you
Anyhow, so here we go. We we did these vignettes, which are crazy vignettes, and people, that's what they all talked about at the time. The ones we did, they were off the wall, and and
Yep.
Vince played 2 or 3 a week on different shows. He had, Raw wasn't going at the time. It was Monday night, something else. There was another Saturday morning show, and there was USA Cable. So he had 3 different shows going, and they were showing our vignettes. And then we started 5 or 6 weeks later, and every agent wanted us to do something different coming to the ring. One of them wanted us to come up from the stands with popcorn, while the other one came through the front entrance with a drink. And of course,
Yeah.
when you got split like that, it's no good. When you're
Right.
a tag team, you need the both guys together.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because people look, if you got one guy up here and one guy down here, well, they're looking at 2 different things. But you need 2 guys anyhow. Puts it to me. When we were heels, when we were thrown outside, when we were outside the ring and we're working the fans, we always just swing our arms up. Whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
yay,
Yep.
just swinging at the fans just to scare them a bit. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's so Butch said to me, let's march to the ring swinging our arms. And of course, I said, I've got F shoulders. My shoulders are fucked. I can't do it. And he put his nose right to my nose. He said, "Do you want to make money or not?" And then next minute, I'm going to the ring swinging my fucking arms.
Hmm.
And
He's
that
right.
was
Yeah.
it.
Yep. He's
And
right.
that was it. The fans all caught on with it, and that was it. You know what I mean?
What about the
And
licking?
then
What about the
if you
licking
say
though?
that, how that started was, well, I can go on with this. He used to grab me after we marched around, and he'd hold my head and give me a good lick on the forehead, and that before we start the match, right?
Yep.
So he did it quite a few times on television. The first week we do TV. You do 2 a night or 3 a night when you do the TV taping. You do, and we did that. So going to the ring now, the fans are putting their heads out to get licked. And Butcher's looking, I don't know whether Butcher's looking, but I put my hand on their head and look at the back of my hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking at, I don't know whether Butcher was licking them or not, but that's what I was doing, looking at it. And, about 2 years into it, they looked into New Zealand culture, and they saw that the Maoris, original people in New Zealand, like Hawaiians, the Maoris, and they
Mhm.
saw that when the Maoris meet each other, they go and touch nose to nose, a greeting. So they
Mhm.
suggested us in the ring, after we get into the ring and do our thing, we think we give each other nose to nose before we start the match,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So now the people are seeing us giving a nose to nose, but they're thinking we're headbutting each other. So when we're now, this went on for a couple of weeks, and that now we're going out in public, and people are coming up to us and giving us a headbutt, thinking that was the greeting,
Ah. Okay. They were a little
and
confused.
and
Yeah.
they were going fuck, and we were seeing stars. We stopped that fucking gimmick straight away. We
Yeah. That.
stopped rubbing noses straight away. These people were headbanging us for real. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's too much.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Crazy how people get on to something and they do. So we stopped the bloody nose to nose.
Hey, they loved it
Yeah,
though, because I remember I was at
yeah,
a show, one of my first shows ever. I'm like 7 years old, and there was these two. We were in the second row, and these two older ladies were in the first row. When you guys came out, they were nuts, and they wanted you to lick them. I was like, "Are these old ladies crazy?" And like, you guys went over to them, and you're doing, but they were like, they wanted it. Like they were like yelling at you, lick us, kiss us."
yeah.
They were nuts. It was so funny.
Crazy, huh? Isn't it
Yeah.
crazy how things people pick up and that and run with it? That
Yep.
was, you know, when you mention wrestling from the 80s now, we're known for as Jesse Ventura, the 2 marching morons. The people remember the 2 guys that marched and licked heads. They don't remember wrestling moves. If you're a straight wrestler, you've forgotten about.
Yes.
They remember your character.
Very true. You guys are
Yeah,
unforgettable. Everybody remembers you guys. Yeah.
yeah, believe it or not, and we're lucky too. Peacock, younger, I get young kids come up to me and these comic conventions and wrestling conventions, and they're marching up to me, and then I say to them, and the parents tell me, oh, they love watching the classic era from '85 to '95. That's the classic era.
Yeah.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? That's before they went suck it. The next era was suck it, whatever that era is called. But that started late 90s, 90, 98.
The
That other
Attitude
era,
Era.
the Attitude Era. But
Yep.
before that, it was, family entertainment.
Yes. You know what I
And
always call it? I call it the Hogan Era from '84 to
yeah, it
'93. I
is.
call it the Hogan Era. Yeah.
It is the whole Hogan era. Because, I got two things I remember very, very much so in my life. The 80s in the Battle Royal in Madison Square Garden, when Terry came to that fucking ring, or Terry came out of the curtain of the ring, the atmosphere in that building in the 80s with Hulkamania, WrestleMania, and everything. It, my hair stood on my arms. Butcher could put his mouth and talk to me in my ear. I wouldn't hear him. That
Wow.
at that time in the 80s, being in the ring there, the crowd were wild. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I can't explain it. That era in the 80s was because WrestleMania and Hulkamania together. It's just fucking
The
insane.
best. The best. Yes. Yep. Hulk was the man.
And, and I have another era, two, I think it was 91 or 92 in the big building in London. This was their last big show in the outdoor building. What was the big
Wembley. Wembley
Wembley
Stadium.
Stadium? The
Yep.
old Wembley Stadium. That's when Davy Boy fought Brett.
Yes. SummerSlam
Now,
1992. Yes.
yeah. Now, that stadium it holds 96,000 people.
Yep.
Right, and to fill that up takes about 3 hours. To fill it up. Anyhow, we were the first match. This is the second. Madison Square Gardens was number one. This is number two. We were the second match. It was the sixth man. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Butch and me against the Nasty Boys and the Mountie. So you got the whoa, you got the yay, and you got the ho from Duggan.
Yep.
So we all marched to the ring, the three of us, and we marched to one rope, put our heads under the top rope, and we do the whoa, yay, and ho. The whole fucking building does it. We go to the other ropes. We go to the third rope. We go to the fourth ropes. And the whole fucking building now is all going. We went to twice more, and we said we better stop this. But the whole building now is doing that, and it's just whirling around. Whoa, yay, ho! Whoa, yay, ho! It was an insane sound. Then we started the match, and we just had to touch the opponents, and the people were screaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're awesome fans at the UK. Yeah.
The fans, yeah, we didn't have to do anything in that match, more or less. It was just, the noise was insane. You
I
know
think
what I
that
mean?
actually aired on primetime wrestling, oddly enough, for that match. But the UK fans are the best. They're always in
Yeah.
unison somehow too. Like whenever they're chanting,
They used to sing it because of the soccer, all the soccer games. You
Yep.
hear them. You know what I mean? Boy, that was a night to remember. The first, and sitting there for so long, waiting for something to happen. So when the first match happened, you got it all built up, and then you let it out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They were ready. And that was one hell of a night. The whole night was fucking. We started it. We started it on a high note, and it just stayed there. You know what I mean?
Yep. Did you guys ever want to win the tag team championships in the WWF, or you didn't need them?
Well, no. We started. We did something with Arn and Tully. They won the belts, and straight away after they won it, they asked to do something with Arne Tully, and then on television. The same night that we did a little angle with them, we were doing 3 tapes. After that, we did go to the second or third tape, and we're doing our finish, but Butch grabs my head and runs at the guy, and it's my head. My head looks like it hits the stomach, and he
Yep.
takes down, and we cover.
The battering ram.
Okay,
Yeah.
the battering ram.
Yep.
So Butch grabs my head, he runs at the guy freaks out, turns sideways. My head never hits their body because Butch hits him with his chest. So my head looks like it's hitting them in the stomach, but they don't. I hardly ever hit the stomach. Said I'm telling the people the story. Anyhow, the guy turned, my head hit his hip, and I hairline fractured 2 vertebrae in my neck.
Oh wow! Damn.
So I was out for 10 weeks.
Damn.
And that was the end of that. And that was the end of us going for the belts.
Were you going to win them, or you don't know?
I didn't know what they had in store, but they had an angle with us, just to go, a little angle to run with. You know what I mean?
Yep. Wow, would have been interesting because
And
you guys were probably the most over team.
And those 2 guys were the easiest to work, Arn and Tully. You know what I mean? You're gonna have super matches with those 2.
I love those 2. Yes, the Brainbusters were awesome.
Yes, 4 Horsemen, whatever. Yeah, so that was that story there. So no title shots. Butch I think Butch ran a week and a single with Tully or Arn, and then it was whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep. So when you're going through tag team titles, doesn't matter, like that, as far as like looking back that you never won them, doesn't matter because you guys were so over. It's almost like, okay, you can have the tag titles, but we're still probably the most popular act.
That's what, it's like Duggan. Doesn't matter, you're a character. They buy your character. Like the Duggan with the 4x2, the USA flag, and the crooked eye. And the crooked eye.
And the snot coming out of his nose all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's Jim. You know what I mean?
Yep. Man, though, the Bushwhackers, crazy how popular you guys were. It's like, wow.
Yeah, but then we came back in the Gimmick Battle Royal in 202 in Houston.
Oh, WrestleMania 17, 2001. Yep.
2001. Yeah, we came back to that. Actually, they wanted us to come for the 3 days, but we were booked up well ahead of time. We were main event, and we were on the West Coast. So we worked the 2 shows, and on Saturday night, we got the red eye to fly back during the night to get to Houston. And we got to Houston, and then we were dead tired. And then, they told us that we were the first out in the Gimmick Battle Royal.
Yes.
People hadn't seen us since 2017. We were live.
Yeah.
And we came out of that fucking curtains marching and all hyped up and that it was insanity back. Craziness back again. Whatever you like to say. It was wild,
Yep.
People really accepted us wild.
And it's funny, we just were watching the Iron Sheik documentary, whenever that came out a few months ago.
Yeah.
And it's funny, he won the Battle Royal because basically he was in such poor health that they couldn't throw him over the top rope and out. So just let him win it. Yeah, right?
We all laugh at that. They said, fuck, we can't get rid of him because he can't move. So just went to. I'm at this moment, I'm trying to get Kazroy back on the road. He's a proud Iranian. He doesn't want to be seen in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? I tell him all the time. There's hundreds of, 5 or 6 guys in wheelchairs. Magnum TA, there's fucking Lex Luger, and there's other guys in wheelchairs. Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
But He's very proud. Don't forget, he was the Prince of Iran. He was the security guy for him. He looked after him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's a very proud man. He's an Olympic medalist, and that
Oh
it's
yeah.
just that it's hard to take that out of him because he hasn't been seen for so long. I tell him, come with, I've got guys who want to book him.
Oh yeah. For sure. I
Yeah,
mean, he would kill it right now if he wanted to get out there
yes,
and do some conventions.
because
Yeah.
he has so much merchandise too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He was there when they did the first merchandise.
Yeah.
Yes,
Basically.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
He's got
Eh,
LJNs from '85 and '86. Yeah. Yep.
yes. Anyhow, that's right. The run in the WWF. Come back to it and that, and then we got the call in 215. Butch had staph infection bad, and they took himself out in 210, and they couldn't put a new hip in till 214. They had to check him every 6 months to make sure that he had no stuff through his body, and
Right.
that. So they kept checking him, and mid to the end of 214, they put the new hip in, and then 215 we went in the Hall of Fame. That's why Butch was on two crutches at that time. So that was we had, but it was a great. We did a. I'm not saying that it was the best Hall of Fame speech, but we came in there between the girl Medusa. She talked on and on about WCW, and Vince was a bit hot about that because she
Yeah.
put the belt in the garbage and that. And of course, Larry Sabisco, he went on and on. He mentioned he ran the same story 3 times.
Yeah. It's
He,
about Bruno and
he
the Hedges. Yeah. Yep.
where he called through the hedge. He mentioned that street, and Larry's a good friend of ours, and he was dressed up like James Bond in a white jacket with a bow tie. But
Yes.
he called through that hedge 3 times. So Vince said just do okay, hit them with something. You know what I mean? So we
Yes.
cut down our thing, but we hit them with some good. We gave the people a good laugh.
Yes. That was a good Hall of Fame. That was a fun Hall of Fame. You guys killed it out
Yeah,
there. That you guys
and,
were
and
great.
we
Yeah.
were, we bought Brett up, we bought Roddy Piper up, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Ted DiBiase. We got them all to do the Bushwhacker march to the stage.
Yes. Yes.
Funny part when Brett come up, Butch leaned over and he nearly he nearly give Brett a crossbody block. He nearly went off the stage into Brett's arms.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Great.
that was close. That was close. It was funny. Anyhow, that was our Hall of Fame thing.
Yep.
And we went there, and then 220, we went in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. The pro wrestling, that's more or less the NWA, you know,
Yep.
by the NWA Council, and that they voted us in there. So that more or less was our life. And now getting to the sad part.
Yes.
Yep, we've been trying to get Butch from 215. I got a guy called Scott Wilder
Yep.
that booked 25 shows for us. Just a few on the East Coast, the West Coast. Everything was on the East Coast, where you drive 2 hours from show to show. There was no big driving. You just sit in the car, drive to the next show, and sign every night. Anyhow, Butch's family thought coming to the fucking 25 gigs, they thought he was like back wrestling, where you're worn out every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't want him to come. Didn't want him to come. Anyhow, 219 comes and we're already bloody COVID comes. And the
Hmm.
lockdown in New Zealand. New Zealand didn't open up till September 2022.
Nuts.
That's
Yep.
when Butch get out. If you got out before that, you couldn't get back in. They weren't letting anyone in, even New Zealanders. And if you didn't go in, you had to pay for your own hotel rehab, which was $6,000,
Wow.
5,500, 14 days in a hotel. and that was 6,055 to 6. So come 222, in a 222, I said to Butch, to tell your family we're just going to do 5 days, and the West Coast is a straight shot from Auckland, New Zealand to LA. No plane drive to 14 to 15-hour hop, non-stop. So I got a seat with him, right next to the toilet, in business class. He's all good, and he comes up on a Wednesday. He arrives, and he lived here for 35 years. He loved the country. Now he's back in the country. He's like a little kid. They just taking photos, crazy photos, and doing crazy stuff. I arrive the next morning. We meet, at midday, blah blah blah, and it's like old times again. He's like 85 to 95, joking. That he's on a walk. He's got a walking stick. He can walk without it. He feels safer with a stick. Anyhow, we have a good time during the day. That night we do a private signing in the hotel room, and we go live on Facebook.
Yep.
So people can see that he's here, and he's cracking jokes, telling fucking smart remarks all the time, and all that sort of stuff, and we're having a good time. Afterwards, we go and eat, and Honky Tonk meets us, and George Napolitano, the magazine guy, the guy he's put out a hard lot of books. He met us in 1972 in Montreal, and did it first, and we arrived here in 72. But later that year, he met us there on a big show, and he did a story on us. So I'd known George since 1972, and I'd known Honky since 78. Me and Butch had. So and some other people with us. We're having a good time in the hotel, eating and drinking, and that couple of glasses of wine. Then we wind it up and we go to bed, because next day we're live from 10 to 2, 4, 10 to 2, 3 to 6, right? For WrestleCon.
Yep.
In the morning, we're going down at 8 o'clock for breakfast. No Butch. Bang on his door. No Butch. Call the room. No Butch. Get security to open the room. He's laying on the bed sucking for air. He's incognito.
Oh, man.
EMTs come. They shoot him up with something or other. Put the face mask on him, oxygen, and put some other stuff on him. Whip him in the fucking stretcher and shoot him out take him to the hospital. The worst thing was they took him for the lobby, and the doors had already opened, and there's about 800 people in the lobby. That was the worst move. I told them the back door. They said, no, we're going to go through the lobby. Anyhow, on the way to the hospital, his heart stopped. But they got it restarted. Got him to hospital, brought his temperature, checked him, brought his temperature down. I told him, what the story was. I said, he stopped taking his water pills 5 days ahead of time. Now, when I arrived on Thursday, I said, take your water pills. Friday, take your water pills. I was telling her, oh yeah, I'm going to take it. Later on, I found out, because I had his phone, I saw he hadn't taken his water pills. His wife had been telling him since Tuesday, take your water pills.
Right. He
hadn't taken them since Tuesday. I take water pills every day.
Yep.
I know what happens.
Right.
Anyhow, and stopped. They got him to the hospital, and they put his temperature down, and they put him, seduced him with drugs, checked all his organs, and they said his brain, the brain's half there. It's working. But they says, this happens and they put you out, it usually part of it goes to sleep for a while, you know what I mean? Or whatever. They said, now this was Friday, midday, when they take his temperature down. They said Saturday at 9 o'clock at night, we're going to do the 12-hour and bring him back up to 96 point whatever it is, his body temperature, and he'd be back, and he'll wake him. Sunday morning, I wait for a call. There's no call, so I call the hospital. They said he never come to. Said he never come to, and they said I gotta check. We're gonna go and check his body organs and that. I get a call an hour later. He's brain dead.
Ugh.
They said he's going to be in a stretcher all his life, on a chair all his life, getting fed through a tube. And Butch says, I never want to be on any machines or anything. Told his wife, he told his daughters, he told me. So that evening, we get a Zoom, we Zoom his family's all talk to him. He's incognito, he's out of it. You know, they've got a breathing machine on him, and they're feeding him more stuff and a morphine and everything. And they all talk to him, which he don't hear, but they all say their condolences, whatever, to him and that. And then the Zoom goes off. They pull the defibrillator out of his mouth. They unplug everything. I sat there, and in an hour, 10 minutes, he took his last breath.
Wow. Damn.
That was it. So so now they've got all the story about Butch's death and that. It's very sad.
Yeah, so sorry about that. That's
Now,
crazy.
I'm so mad at him for not taking his water pill. So I've lectured him before many times,
But
and
hey,
that's it.
the only good thing, I mean, there's nothing good about it at all, but you got to see him and hang out one last time, which
Yeah,
is kind of like a little bit of a silver lining, a little bit, but
you
just
know,
horrible to hear about
yeah,
Butch.
yeah, it is too. His lungs filled up with water, and then it went around his heart. That's what caused the death.
Uh,
He hung out. He was back home with his wife. That was me, the longest person. He had
yeah,
3 wives and kids. I spent the most time with him.
yeah, you're right. If you think about it, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Here, John. That's about it, mate.
Hey,
That's
for
it.
even more of your stories, they got to get your book, Blood, Sweat, and Cheers, The
Yeah,
Bushwhackers, 1960s to 2015. I mean, what a book. That's
yeah,
awesome. Johnny Crowther's the man. So, I mean, get
yeah.
the book, right? Where can everybody get the book?
You can get it online at what's it called?
Amazon.
Amazon and Barnes and Noble, or you can call me up. You go to Bushwhacker brand.com, gmail.com, and ask for me. I've got so many books signed by Butch, and I'll sign it and send it to you.
Awesome.
So you get
Good.
it signed by both of us.
Awesome. Great, great book there. Where can everybody find you social media wise?
Yeah, social media. I'm Bushwhacker Luke on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You'll see us. You'll see the circle of the world with Bushwhacker brand in it and my head in the middle. That you know that you've got the right you've got the right
The right Bushwhacker.
yeah, you got the right Bushwhacker.
But Luke, thank you so much for all the time today. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, and I got to come back and tell you some stories. So I got some more stories to tell. Wow,
Yes.
all these stories, road stories. We'll come
Yes.
back to that another time.
All right. Perfect. I'm down. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's great to be on your show, mate. 2-man power trip. To all the fans out there, this is Bushwhacker saying, I love you guys, and don't forget to buy my book. See ya. Whoa! Yay!